What is going on, my friend? Welcome to the Podcast Domination Show. On this episode, I sit down with my client and friend, Tom Gaddis. Tom just launched his podcast called What's the Secret? Make sure you check it out on anywhere you listen to podcasts from. But in this episode, you're going to hear a few things. Number one, you're going to hear how he turned $50 into $7,000 in about 7 days. Number two, you're going to hear about how he went from fired from his job, unemployed, to making and growing a seven-figure business. Just to give you a little context on Tom, he is the co-founder of Offline Sharks, and he and his co-founder have actually coached over 50,000 people across the world, helping them start their own agency, get more customers, and build their online or offline business, actually. So enjoy this episode I have with Tom. Just keep a note, it was a Facebook Live before, so if you want to hear the video version, go to the Facebook group, the Podcasters Inner Circle, and it will be there for you. So without further ado, enjoy my episode with Tom Gaddis. Hey guys, Lewis here with a quick shameless plug. If you've been wanting to start a podcast, or you already have a podcast, it's just not performing as well as you want it to, and you'd like my team and I to see if we can help you with our customized podcasting solution, then I want to invite you to go to dominatewithlewis.com. That's dominatewithlewis.com. So on that page, obviously, it's going to be an application-only process. Once you fill out that application, I will personally reach out to you to book a time for us to chat. And on that call, a few things are going to happen. So number one, I'm going to actually give you some advice that's going to help you get past whatever you're doing. So no matter what, if you decide to move forward or if you're just there to get some advice, I'm going to help you either way. And then number two, I'm going to share with you if I can actually help you, or I will refer you out to someone who I know can definitely help you. So if that sounds good and you want to chat, then go to dominatewithlewis.com. That's DOMINATE, dominate, with WITH, Luis, LUIS.com. Thanks. Hope to talk soon. Man, so Tom, it's funny how I met you. Well, I met you through you downloaded my book, and then we chatted from there. And then fast forward a month and some change. Now we're launching the podcast. But the reason I wanted to bring you on here is because you've got an interesting story, which you share on the show. And there's a link there if people want to check it out. But you've got an interesting story. And the way you've approached this podcast is kind of different from, I think, most people, how they approach a podcast. So I guess to start off, let's talk about a little bit about kind of how you got started in business and what caused you to get in it. And then we can reverse engineer and talk about the podcast from there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me on, by the way. And aloha, everybody. I'm in Maui, Hawaii. So I like to spread the aloha when I get on these types of calls. So
for real. Yeah. Is it sunny over there? Is it always sunny over there? Or
it is. It is really sunny. It's like, 78 degrees, sunny, blue skies. It's really funny, like, because you know, all the stuff that's going on in the world right now. If you watch the news and then you walk out, like I watch the news and then I walk out my front door and I'm like, wait a minute, the world's not ending. Like last night I took the wife and the kids and we walked across the street and just sat on the edge of the beach and watched the sunset. And it's like the waves were still crashing. The sun was still it was still gorgeous. Like, there were just like a lot of people all down the beach, of course, 6 feet apart, but all down the beach just watching the sunset. But it was a really good calming experience to remember that, like, okay, everything's still okay. Like, we're still okay.
Right.
But no, it's awesome to live here. But yeah, so to your question about getting started. So way back in like 1999, 2000, I was living in Michigan and I was working for a writer. And one of the things that he tasked me to do was to start figuring out how we could market books online. And so that was kind of like my first introduction into like this idea that you could even make money online. You could sell things online. Right. So I got addicted to it. Like I started consuming all the information I could, all those stuff. And eventually down the road, I ended up back in Oklahoma and I was thinking like, I really want to start my own business. I want to do something on the side. So I thought I would, try affiliate marketing. So I created this affiliate marketing site that was all about taking surveys online and getting paid. I put all these affiliate links on it. I did some SEO and I was able to get that site where it was making like $100 a month, but I couldn't get it to go past that. And I was working a full-time job. I had a family. I was a restaurant manager. So I'm working 60 hours a week. I got the family. I'm trying to do this thing. And then on top of that, I really wasn't an entrepreneur. I told people I wanted to be an entrepreneur. If you ask me, I'd be I want to do that. But my actions and behaviors weren't in line with actually achieving success, right? I just wasn't as focused as I should have been. I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. There's just lots of things, right? So fast forward, I end up in Maui. I'm a corporate restaurant manager. I get fired. I'm this idea of having my own business comes back, and I'm I want to do that. So along the way, someone had told me hey, Tom, you have these skills, you know how to do SEO, you know how to build websites. Maybe instead of trying to make money online, you should offer to do those services for local businesses.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, I thought, well, why not? Give it a try. And I found it to be way easier to make money doing that because not many people were doing it. Businesses were open to it. They really needed help. They didn't know the Facebook from the Instagram, from the the SEO. What are you talking about? And I don't even know how to log into my website.
Right.
So there was a need there. And because of my experience with online before, it just helping people and offering digital marketing as a service just seemed to me to be more of a real business. It was tangible, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And also too, when I was trying to do things online, I really didn't have any skills I could, or at the time I didn't feel like I could teach. I was still learning all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I started helping businesses. And as I did that, I was this idea of doing products and having an online business really kind of started to resurface because I started to realize oh, now I have some experience. Now I have some things I can teach other people. I'm getting clients, I'm doing those things. And so I started putting out products, and now it was a whole different ball game in the online space because I had, I could do case studies. I had actual experience to pull from.
Yeah, exactly. You had some experiences you could share, and that makes for better content, makes for everything. What I find pretty interesting about your story was you got laid off from your job, and then you're all right, well, got all this time. You correct me if I'm wrong. You were on unemployment, right?
Yep. Yeah. For 52 weeks.
Right. So you're I'm just going to I'm going to take my time here. I'm actually going to figure out what I need to do next. I want to build a business that I don't have to go to work for someone else. Not saying it's going to be any easier. It's probably harder, but you probably enjoy it a bit more. So walk me through kind of that. What would that 52 weeks look like? Where was your mindset at? What was some of the early things you did to set you up for success there? Because I think the first season of your podcast is really about people who are maybe in that stage, or maybe they're trying to get out on their own.
Yeah. The first season is about getting started. And it's interesting to say that because actually for a lot of that 52 weeks, I was just flailing in the wind. I was just desperately trying to figure out anything. I was buying a lot of courses. I was well, maybe I'll try this. And I was all over the place. And the real kind of shift for me came when I found a guy who had this idea to do this, basically was this jumbo mailer that he sent out and sold ad spots on. And that's actually what I talk about in the first episode of the podcast, because I took this method this guy had. It cost me less than $50 to get everything I needed to start making money from it. And then I went out, and in 7 days I generated $7,000. Right. And then that
hell of an ROI.
And that was the light bulb moment. Oh, if you have an idea and you take action on it, it works. And so what happened for me was then I became super action oriented. I wasn't action oriented before, but now I was it's all about taking action. It's all about doing this. And so I was doing that every day, anything I could do to take action to move the needle forward, regardless of what the results I got. I didn't care about the results. Am I taking action today? Am I taking action today? As I've kind of matured through that process, I've started to realize that mindset really has a lot to do with getting started and getting through that kind of stuff. I appreciate how it takes a shift of mindset to really change your behaviors. In season 1 of the podcast, that's really what I talk about. Okay, what are the mindset things that are going to give you the best chance, right? To actually get started and start taking some action, because that's the big sticking point for most people. I mean, most of the people that are listening to this, they probably know what to do. Like, you know what to do.
But it's like, why aren't you doing it?
Doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting. So to give people a context who don't know who you are, what your business is, Offline Sharks, like you and your business partner have taught over 50,000 people across the world exactly these strategies. And what interests me even more about, like, when I first met you, I went to your website and I'm like looking at all the products. I'm like, holy crap. Like, how do they make so many products? there's probably going to be a podcast series on how you guys pumped out products.
Yeah.
And that's probably a few down the road a bit, but I'm curious for you, some of the bigger mindset pieces, were there any light bulb moments that, besides making that $7,000 out of that after, the $50 investment, were there any other light bulb moments that you remember where it was like, oh, this is a big key concept within your mindset for getting shit done and taking action that you recall? Doesn't have to be in that early stage. It's kind of anywhere.
Yeah. No, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, one, I'm an avid reader, right? So I was consuming a lot of books about direct marketing, about being successful. And, one of the guys I really love is Dan Kennedy. And when he said, like, you should have more than one way to talk to your customers. Like, if you're going to build a business, you should figure out other ways to monetize it. Like, I just believed him. Right. And so I read that and I thought, okay, well, that makes sense to me. I mean, that's really how I even ended up with Offline Sharks, because a lot of people would have, because I built a business offline, which is the agency, the helping clients. And now I've built a business online. And the reason I did that was because, a lot of people would build this business offline and just stop there. Right. Mm-hmm. But when he said, like, if you're just relying on one thing, that's not good, I thought that makes total sense. So as that offline business grew, I started trying to figure out, well, how can I monetize that in a different way? So there's, more revenue streams coming in. And in the current light, like, I mean, that's really what is saving my rear end right now, is that we have this online portion of our business, even though the offline portion is kind of in limbo right now. It's not dead, definitely in limbo. There's concerns and a lot of issues. Like, the online side is going really well. So I think, one, getting that straight in your head, that, like, you want to have multiple things going on. Yeah. You want to try to, and I don't think you need to have multiple businesses. You just want to look at whatever it is you're doing and figure out how else can I generate revenue from this idea? Right.
Great point.
Yeah. You don't need to, like, come up with a bunch of different ideas. It's just what are the other things I can do? And there's always ways to do that in any business if you just think about it. Right.
Totally.
So that was one thing. The other thing I think too was my mindset about money and just kind of, like, I would say, ethics in general, because so one of the things I did, which I'm not super proud of early on, was, like, I didn't have a lot of money to get started. So I would, like, try to figure out how to get these hacked versions of software that I needed.
Right.
Like, I'm scourging the dark corners of the web to get, because I can't afford to buy them. And one day I was just thinking about that, and I thought, that's not a mindset that is going to, I think, encourage success, right? Like,
totally.
My actions need to match what I say my beliefs are. And so I deleted every version of pirated software that I had from my computer. And if I couldn't afford it, I didn't buy it. I figured out another way to do it. And funny enough, like, that was a big shift. Like, after I did that, not long after that, I actually started having some success. And I think it's because it shifted internally in me, right? And so I continually try to work on my view of, of what my relationship is to money, how I feel about it, how I view it, how I view other people that have it, or, what am I really thinking about? And then are my behaviors matching what I say I believe, right? Like, a really great book that I read not long ago, it's called The Trick to Money is Having Some. And the title is hilarious, but the book, it's by Wilde, I think is his name. Stuart Wilde.
Wilde. Okay.
Yeah. Stuart Wilde. The Trick to Money is Having Some. But that's a good one. Early on I'd read Think and Grow Rich. I also really like Napoleon Hill has another book that's a little lesser known called Grow Rich with Peace of Mind. I thought that was really good. So I think investing in yourself in those things, again, shifting our mindset, right? And I think those were big moments for me as well. And then realizing that like, no matter what people tell you, building any kind of business, whether it's offline or online, takes work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smashing the delusion that there's an easy way to make a lot of money. like I held on to that fantasy for as long as I could until basically the reality of running businesses ripped it out of my hands.
like, am I working too hard for this? Or
like, how can I not make this as easy as everybody else says it is?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong? And then I meet those people and turns out I'm not doing anything wrong. They're doing the same thing.
Yeah. Funny thing enough, a lot of people think the same thing is with podcasting. Like there's some kind of magic hack that I know or other people know that gets them thousands of downloads. It's like, hell no. It's the same, it's the same thing. It's just like I get on client calls all the time and it's like, so what am I doing wrong, Lewis? I'm like, nothing. This shit is organic content.
Well, it's funny. That's where the name of the podcast, this whole thing we're talking about is how the name of the podcast came about. Because the name of my podcast is What's the Secret? Right. And that's from Death of a Salesman, when Lenny Lohman, the guy who he can't make any sales, like his brother's super successful. His brother's name is Ben, and Lenny just can't figure it out. And so he goes to his brother and he says, "What's the secret, Ben? What's the secret?" And like, really the whole kind of irony of that whole thing is that there's no secret, right? So the kind of the irony of my podcast is I call it What's the Secret, but really there's no secret. Like,
no,
you just got to put in the time. You got to put in the effort. You got to persevere. You got to not let, like one of the episodes in season 1 is not let failure go to your head. That's one of my favorite sayings. And, a lot of people think don't let success go to your head, but nope, it's about not letting failure go to your head, because how you react and adjust from those things will really have a big impact on whether you're successful or not.
Totally. I definitely, I'm going to stay on the point of two things I think are really interesting. You just mentioned. Number one, Dan Kennedy. I was literally watching a video of Dan Kennedy before he passed away a couple nights ago. I haven't finished it yet, but the browser's still up. Like I'm still going to watch the video. It's like an hour-long presentation. And it's all about copywriting and that stuff. So any specific books on Dan Kennedy you'd say are must reads for people looking to get in advertising skills?
Man, yeah. I mean, all his stuff is really good, but the ones that I think are particularly good are the No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's something that everybody should read. And then the No BS Ruthless Management of People and Profits. I mean, these two, like, I reread these quite a bit. Like, these are both really good. He has a kind of a newer book. I don't know, like,
is it Magnetic Marketing?
Magnetic Marketing is one of his older ones, but he's got a newer one called Almost Alchemy. That is, it's kind of like this, but a little shorter read, but it's kind of like the No BS Ruthless Management, but that one is really good too.
Okay.
Magnetic Marketing is one of his original courses it's all about how to do the sales letter, like the 3-step sales letter sequence for businesses. I mean, all his stuff is good. I've never listened to anything of his and not come away with something, right? But I would say those 3 books, Almost Alchemy, Ruthless Management, No BS, are really good. But as you can see, I have several more of his too.
Yeah. So Dan Kennedy was one thing of huge fascination. The second thing I thought was really interesting was when you talked about how to make money from in multiple ways using one thing. For instance, like your podcast, like there's definitely ways to monetize. There are different ways to skin the cat, essentially. When you talk about with your offline agency, you've made money through selling services to clients and then also teaching people how to do services, how to like perform the services or fulfill on them. That's a really interesting thing. Cause I think not a lot of people think about that. It's like always the shiny thing after the next thing, after the next thing. So are there any other examples that you come to mind that you've done this or seen it done really well in the offline or online space? I'm curious to hear. Cause I think that's well, I think to your point, like, the thing is, a lot of people, once they have some success with one thing, they start looking for something new to do, right? Like as entrepreneurs, we like new things. One of the things that going through this whole entrepreneur journey thing has taught me is that keep doing what you're doing. Like if you have something that's working, like keep doing what you're doing. So for us, like what that means is when we put out our first product,
Like
Yeah.
we put out another product and another product. But then you start to realize like, man, putting out products is really hard. Like I don't want to be doing this all the time. And it's like you have cash inflow when you launch them and then it dries out and you got to do another one. So then you start thinking, well, how can I build in recurring revenue? So for us, that was a monthly membership. We started focusing on bringing recurring revenue into our business, right? Then like starting to put together different price point packages. So higher priced items, lower priced items. We started doing webinars and we're always like looking for ways we can build our community. Because whenever you have an audience, whatever platform or method you use to build that audience, you can always find a way to monetize that audience.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, it's like you do a product, we're building a list. And so now we have the email list. So then we start sending offers to the email list. And we have like a pretty, our lists were mainly buyers. So even though it wasn't a big list, it was like
Buyers.
It was buyers, which was really good. Then we started Facebook groups. Then, the podcast is just another way to grow an audience. Like I don't really have anything in mind right now for how to monetize it, but I know that building the audience is valuable. Right. Yeah. And so I'm willing to invest in building the audience. And if the audience, it's like in the field of dreams, if the audience comes, you can make money, right? Like, let's focus on that. So, and so that's, I think, like how it's worked for us, and most of it came about because of something we just got tired of doing or that irritated us, right? Like,
okay,
you're doing 5 product launches a year. You're like, this is a lot of freaking work. Like, how can we make this, how can we do this easier? Right. And so, now we do 3 because we've got a monthly membership that people to pay to be in. We rolled out private coaching. We have all different levels of things. We've got a newsletter thing people can sign up for. And again, they're all at kind of various price points. And so that's really kind of like the way that I guess I look at those kinds of things are, okay, well, this is something I'm doing. What's something else we could do? And if you can find a way to monetize things that you're already doing anyway, like for instance, we have a pretty jumping Facebook group. So people are always posting content in there. We're always posting content in there, right? Yep. We do that. We're doing that no matter what. And it's not like it's just to grow the group. So what we did was we came up with this idea to do a newsletter. It's called Shark Bites. And basically what we do is we pull all the content, the most popular content that's shared in the Facebook group and the things we post, and we put it in a newsletter format with links. And so somebody who doesn't want to spend time in the group can just sign up to get Shark Bites. It's like $9.99 a month. It's real inexpensive. Every month they get this newsletter delivered with links to everything and all the content.
Is that physical or is that
it's digital?
Okay.
It's digital.
Cool.
So, but like for us, like we're already doing that content in the Facebook group. It was just a matter of assembling it in a new format, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's smart.
And bring value. So so I think you should always be on the lookout for opportunities like that. How can we do that, right? Like, what are other ways we can do that? The podcast, another good thing. Like, so I took a couple episodes from the podcast. I had them transcribed through rev.com. And then I just went through and edited it and made them blog posts, right? Like, what are the ways I can get more out of the things I'm creating? Yeah. Eventually, I'd like to add video to the podcast so that I'm growing a video presence plus the blog, and I'm only having to create the content once.
Right. Yeah. Right? And then even taking that blog and putting it on a place like LinkedIn, where a lot of people are in the like a B2B space. Yeah. Or medium.com. I mean, there's so many, different ways you could skin that cat.
Yeah. We can start reusing the content. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at so you dropped 4 episodes today. And one of them I want to talk about, which is why is now the best time to start online business? And a lot of people in this group are already starting. They already have online businesses, or they're a freelancer, or they already have a big business. So it kind of, ranges, but I'm curious in it. I know even this is a really relevant episode because you mentioned COVID-19, and even through this rough patch right now, why do you think right now is like the best time to start a online business?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately, like, it's like that old saying about planting a tree, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Right now. So I think businesses are the same way. Like, I don't think there's any situation where it's not a good time to start a business. But I think in this particular situation, we have a few things going for us. One is, especially if you're talking about building an online business, like you want to grow an audience. And right now, your audience is sitting at home with
Doing
nothing to do, right?
Yeah.
So I think now is a really good time to be working to develop those things. Plus, if you focus on building relationships and bringing value versus just getting a transaction right now, people are really going to respond to that just because of the situation they're in. So, if I were somebody that had a course that I was going to launch, I probably would scratch launching it at a high price and either do it for free or maybe do it at a really discounted thing and position that as hey, look, I just want to help you guys out. I know this information, because that's a really great way to build an audience. And you look good because you're doing something good. Right. True. And also your audience is out there, might as well try to rope them in. Somebody who really did a great job with this was Ryan Dice over at Digital Marketer. I don't know if you saw what they did.
I didn't see what he did, but I love Ryan Dice as a marketer. He's local here in Austin. So I'd love if you just share that, because I'm curious as to what he did. Yeah.
So, what he did was he sent out an email and was like, hey, look, digital marketer, we understand it's a rough time. He's like, we know we can't cure this thing. We don't really have anything that can make a big impact on preventing this, but what we can do is help you get more customers for your business. So now through the end of March, we're going to give anyone who signs up free our digital marketer membership. So they just gave it away free, right?
Oh,
2 days later, 2 days later, they had added 26,701 people to their list.
Wow. To their buyers list, or either way?
These are people that just signed up for the free account. But now they've got those, they have those names now, right?
Exactly. Those are signups.
Yeah. I mean, when this passes and they say, okay, well, it's not free anymore, you can still have, I think they have a free version. So they can say, look, from now on, you're only going to have the free version unless you pay. But all those people are now consuming their content and getting indoctrinated into the digital marketer brand. And digital marketer is looking like a hero for doing it. Nobody thinks they're being sleazy. They're trying to take advantage. But, when this situation passes, that relationship building that they're doing right now, they're doing it by not focusing on the short-term money game. Right?
No, exactly. Thinking long term.
They've got the long game in view here, because when we come out of this, they're going to make a lot of money off of this thing that they just did. You know, and I'm sure they realize that. So that I think right now that's what we need to focus on. If you're, going to start something, is okay, let's not worry about the short-term money-making potential. Let's worry about building relationships, getting the audience going, doing those kinds of things. How can we make this situation better? And then when we get through this, we'll be in a way better position.
Yeah. I was thinking about an actual episode for you. It's how to launch a product in a quarantine situation like we're in right now. Exactly. Strategically, and just talk about long-term versus short-term, what the digital marketer did as a case study. That's a really strong point you make. I've got a launch coming in about a month, and people in the group will hear more about it, but some of the things we're battling with right now, it's how do we price this thing? How do we make it good, but not also not trying to take advantage of people? So all very valid points, super valid points. I like that episode. So I wanted to bring it up and just kind of get more details on it for people, because I think what you've got in these episodes are really good starting points for a lot of people, especially the failure one.
Yeah. I think a lot of people just get hung up on that stuff, right? I know in this episode that I'm recording right now is how to reinvent yourself for success, even in a crisis. Because it really that really has been my experience and story. Is I've really had to reinvent myself, change my behaviors, become a different person to be able to achieve, it sounds so corny, but it's if you want to be a person that makes, if you want to make a lot of money, you have to become the type of person that makes a lot of money.
Right.
You're there's going to be some things about yourself you're going to have to change, behaviors and things like that. So I'm excited about that episode, but I like that idea about how to market in a crisis. And, so there's another thing you got to balance too, is obviously, as I had all these different episodes mapped out, 2 seasons, all this stuff. And, and I had to like, then COVID-19 comes along and it's like, I had to make some adjustments, make some changes. I couldn't just, if I continue to just make the episodes I had mapped out, I would just have sounded out of touch.
Yeah.
Like people would have been listening going like, what is this guy talking about? Like, does he not realize what's going on? So I instinctively knew I needed to adjust. The thing that I worry about now though, is like, cause while those episodes and that stuff is really relevant right now, I want them to be relevant after it's over. And we don't really know when it's going to be over. Like all of a sudden 3 weeks from now, it could be an entirely different situation. And so like, you gotta, yes, you have to adjust and take those things into consideration, but I also try to make the episodes stand on their own so that when this is over, that information is still valuable. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think honestly, in a podcasting sense, 80-20 is a good rule for evergreen to newsworthy. Like right now you have to talk about it. For people, what I would say always is like, put it out as a bonus episode. So those are bonus episodes. It's like, you can tag it its special way inside of iTunes so that people know it's bonus. Like it's not normal content. And now it's noteworthy, but people know going forward, it's probably not something they want to listen to. And then you can still produce your normal 6. So I'm thinking that's
a great idea.
Yeah. That'll probably be a strategy we'll use for season 2 as well. So I'm curious for you, what's on what do you see? Cause this is happening right now. So I have to ask you this. What do you see the next couple of months looking like from a standpoint of a business owner in the online space, navigating these waters? Like, what do you see as like opportunities, threats, the obvious ones and non-obvious ones?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things. I know a lot of people are out there right now saying like, see, this is why you should have an online business. This is why you should be doing online business because of this. Right. And one of the things that strikes me as odd about that is like, well, I mean, this could have just as easily been a crisis that took down the internet. And then where would all those online businesses be? Right. Like, so I think the lesson to take away from this is not that, oh, this means I need to have all my eggs in online. The lesson to take away is that you need to be diversified. You need to make sure, again, you're not relying on one thing, that your business can still generate money regardless of what happens, right? Because if it had been the internet that went down, all those people that have offline businesses would be like, see, like we made the right call, right? Like, so you can't, I think that's kind of not a good argument to make. Like, this is why you should do that. I think, moving forward, a lot of online businesses are going to have been woken up to why they need an online presence for the very thing I just talked about, right? Like, a lot of businesses are going to realize now, or they should realize now, the importance of building an email list, developing a social media presence, regardless of what kind of business you're in. You should do those things, right? Because when something like this happens, now you have these multiple ways to contact your customers and adjust. So I think eventually, as people get more used to just being in the environment we're in. And of course, we don't know how the environment's going to change once the quarantine stuff is lifted. Like, what does that even look like? So I think they're going to, what's that?
No, I'm true. I said, just thinking probably like a shit ton of events in 1 month. Like September will be like PNC and freaking South by Southwest.
So like what is the event market going to look like? Are a lot of those things going to turn out to be more virtual? Like, we don't really know where that adjustment is going to come yet. So keeping an eye on those things so that you can adjust your business, I think, is important. But, there'll be a lot of people out there that are going to want to know, well, how can I make my business operate more remotely? Right. Like, a great example are tax preparers. Like right now, they're in the busiest time of their life. Right. And now people that were depending on their clients coming and meeting with them, like if somebody came out with a product on how to handle your CPA clients remotely, I bet they would sell a ton of those, right? Like if you just showed them how to use Loom videos, how to here's how you get people to send you the documents in a safe way. Like that's a niche that now would be interested in that type of thing, right? So I think in the end, agencies, even though they're feeling a little bit of a pinch right now, they're going to thrive because businesses are always going to need to generate customers. And whether that's online, I think is going to be more of a focus. So eventually those people are going to be like, we need to do something. Right. Or they're going to go out of business. So I mean, I'm not like, again, I'm just how the impact of all these people, and what happens when everybody goes to work. Because everybody's not, no, everybody didn't just get fired. They're just temporarily out of work. So
yeah, we're just like, yeah.
How fast does the economy bounce back from that? Like,
it just brought me to mind that I was speaking to a business partner of mine on Saturday, and he was like, yeah, like some people don't have to pay their rents now or their mortgage or something. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting. I didn't get that memo, but
yeah, they're doing, well, they moved taxes back. They're talking about this sending everybody $1,200. They're telling people they don't have to pay their mortgages. Like, they're trying to do what they can to keep the economy stimulated. I saw they even started this digital dollar thing. I think for people in general, though, businesses aside, for people in general, because there are a lot of people out there right now that are like scrambling to try to figure out how to make money online.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that you have to do right now is, one, realize that, like, you are probably not going to start an online business and supplement your income within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Like, I don't care what the gurus tell you. My belief is more than likely that will not happen for you. Yeah. So if you're going to go down this path, just remember that you're in it, be in it for the long haul. Like, now's a great time to get started and start moving it forward. But when your job comes back, you better keep like eye on the prize and doing what you need to do. So, I think there'll be a lot of people that'll flux into trying to make money online. And then a lot of people then will just be gone because they're just looking for a Band-Aid. They're not really looking to build a real business.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really good point. I've had a lot of people ask me about this too. I'm like, I don't know. This is my first recession. Last time I was here, I was in high school. So 2018 or 2008, I was in high school sitting in class like, well, I don't know what any of this means. So I'm just going to carry on with my life.
Yeah.
So yeah. From a podcasting standpoint, I think it's people are just producing more episodes now because they want to be seen. So,
yeah, I mean, it would be a great time to start a podcast right now because, number one, Adobe announced the other day that they'll give anybody that asks 60 days free of the Adobe Creative Cloud. So that's one thing they're doing for COVID-19, right? You can actually, I think there's an article on lifehacker.com on it. So you can get Adobe Audition for free for 60 days. You don't even need to pay for it. And I think you told me about a microphone that's like super expensive. It's like $20 or something. That's like, isn't it like an AT 2020 or something microphone?
Oh yeah. ATR. Yeah.
It's like, it's a decent microphone. It's $20. Like, and now you've got the software, you've got the microphone. Like, all you got to do is produce the content and you're sitting at your house. You can't go anywhere.
Nice.
Why not? Right? Like,
yeah.
So I think there's lots of things people could be doing. You could get a blog going, again, and it's about taking that action and just getting started. Like, will you be great at it and build a following of 1 million people right out of the gate? No. Right. More than likely, you will suck at it. Like, I feel like I suck at the podcasting, but as I do it more and more, I'll get better and better at how I deliver things there. So that's really, I think, the secret.
I like to end it on that. That's the secret to get into this to this live. So I put the link on the Facebook group to check out the podcast in Apple. But What's the Secret podcast? If the official name is What's the Secret? And then don't forget the question mark. Yeah. So Tom, where can people find out more about you and kind of check out what you got? I know you've got, like I was saying before, lamenting on the tons of products you've got, which we'll have to do another episode on, like product creation.
Yeah. Well, you can find out all about the podcast, all that stuff over at tomgaddis.com. I'm also, if you want to see what I do with the Offline Sharks, you can go to offlinesharks.com and check that out too. See our products, what we're building there.
Yeah. And you've got a Facebook group for the Offline Sharks too, which if you're,
we have a Facebook group for Offline Sharks. If you just look up Offline Sharks, you'll find it. But yeah, it's a really great group. So check it out.
It's very engaged. I was impressed. I was like, damn.
Yeah, we have a lot of great, we have a lot of great people in there. And there, there's another thing, like we have this name Offline Sharks, and like our people in the community have really taken to be calling sharks. Like they put all kinds of shark memes in there. Like, so when you're trying to build an audience in a community, if you can give them something to latch onto, do it.
Yeah. I think that's a really good move. At first I saw, I was like, I didn't really get it, but now I was like, you can do a lot of great things with a name like that. And people can attach to it. They can identify with it really well.
Yeah.
Too.
It's a disadvantage for people that aren't in the group because they look at that and they go, well, what the heck is this? But once you're in the group, they go, oh, okay, I get it. And then they like buy into it. So there's pros and cons to it, the way we did it, right? Like we could have picked the word offline is really the thing that throws it out of balance, because it can have different meanings. Like people don't really just know how we're using it there, So
yeah, I guess as a guy who's in the online space, I kind of picked it up pretty fast. I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
But if you're not, I can see why it's a bit of a
they're just kind of like, yeah.
Anyways, man, Tom, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Lewis, thanks for having me on, man. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Thank you. Hey, and don't forget, I have a number of free bonuses for you. These are free templates, guides, and stuff that I've actually included in my recent book, How to Get Your First 100,000 Downloads in 100 Days. But you don't even have to buy the book. I'm just going to give this to you for free. All you have to do is go to LuisRyan, LuisRyan.com/book. There is a simple form where you fill out your name and your email, and you get a ton of free stuff, all the templates and guides that I included in the book, but you don't have to buy the book. So you're saving yourself a chunk of money that literally will take you probably less than 2 minutes to accomplish or perform. So enjoy that. That's my gift to you. Use it. Don't just let it fall by the wayside, and I'll see you on the next episode.